You live. You just about break free from your toxic relationships. Well, the first step is usually we want to try to heal them, but when we realize we're the only one working at it, it's time to learn how we can break ourselves free. Today's episode is focusing on Nemesia Sorcar. She's a client of mine and a wonderful individual who's also an acupuncturist. And when she and I met about a year or so ago, she and I realized that there was an instant opportunity for both of us to enjoy each other's services. Nemesia has been studying under me in learning about her needs, parentification, journaling, empowerment, taking steps for her own health and well-being, emotional safety, and freedom. What does that really look like? So in today's episode, she's going to just share a few minutes with you to tell you what it took for her to break free.
I was recently rereading my journal from when I first started working with Angelique about a year ago, and it was interesting to notice how heavy with delusion my journal entries were. When I first started working with Angelique, I was in a very toxic relationship, and I had a lot of hope that things would change, even though repeatedly the circumstances showed me that there was no change in sight. And what I noticed about that is that the relationship I was in, the person that I was with would continually give me just enough so that I would stay, and then once I was continuing in the cycle, would do things to disrespect my boundaries over and over again, staying on dating apps while we were together, having other relationships with women overseas and with so-called friends, and overall just destroying the trust that we had in our bond. So it was pretty clear, being the person now that reading those journal entries, that I was very much stuck in a cycle that I wanted to get out of, but I just was totally unsure of how to get out of. So what I learned from that point until like this point, I feel like a totally different person, and a big help with that has been from learning to meet my own needs. And I've done that by learning how to soothe my inner child, learning how to soothe my nervous system, learning how to meet my own needs by asking, what do I need right now? How am I feeling? And then giving myself whatever it is that I needed. And these simple yet effective questions were really the crux of my healing, because what it did is it helped to fill my cup from within, so that I stopped looking for love from people that were totally unable to love me, and felt satiated enough to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and get out of the cycle that I had been stuck in for a very long time, really my entire life. So the biggest pattern that I was in, that I wasn't aware that I was in until I started working with Angelique, was that I didn't have love and safety together. I would often forgo my own safety in order to have what I thought was love, but really it was just connection with people who were completely unable to love me. And in doing that, there was a self-betrayal that happened that actually cut me off even more from my own inner child, cut me off from myself, cut me off from my own personal power. And so as I learned to fill my own cup, I became more independent, I became more clear, I became just more able to feel safe enough to move through the world and not engage in these addictive, toxic cycles. The relationships that I had been in prior to these realizations were often very addictive. It was almost like I felt like a drug addict, but the drug of choice was love, but it wasn't actually love, it was more just attachment. And I didn't quite realize that it wasn't love until I started working with Angelique and realized that, love would not ask you to betray yourself in that way. And so it's really completely changed my life to be able to meet my own needs and feel fulfilled and feel in my own power in that way. And it's helped me save me from cycles that would probably have killed me otherwise. There were many times in the last relationship that I was in that I knew that if I had stayed in it, I probably would have died from stress because it was incredibly stressful. And the person that I was with was not safe in any way, shape, or form, and okay with putting me in unsafe situations. So learning to reparent myself has not only helped me to get out of the toxic, abusive cycles with romantic relationships, but it's helped me to trust myself more deeply, which in turn will or has given me the ability to feel strong, to feel independent, and to feel free, which is ultimately what I want more than anything else, is a sense of freedom.
Congratulations, Nemesia, and congratulations to each and every one of you who are working so hard to break yourself free from toxic relationships. It takes time. Recognize that this is a journey, and you are not in this alone. Even though you might look around you and see other people's relationships that seem perfect, there are always things going on under the surface that you just might not know about. So give yourself some patience and let yourself know that you are not alone in this process. There are people here to help you. I'm happy to walk alongside you on your journey. And when you break free, come join me in Africa. We're heading to Africa in November from the 6th through the 13th in the southern tip of Africa from Maputo to Cape Town. 7 nights, 8 ports, and 15 excursions that include things like helicopter rides, scuba diving, kayaking with whales. It is whale watching season then, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. As well as native bushmen who are going to be showing us tribal ceremonies to release generational trauma, and botanists to talk with us about plant medicine. In Cape Town, we'll also see museums as well as join them for some winery tours. Some of the world's most famous wines are there in Cape Town, and sometimes it's nice to just taste a sip of the best of the best. So you have lots of things to look forward to. You are not trapped unless you allow yourself to be. You can break free. We thank Nemesia for sharing her story today. You can check with us in the next week or so when we'll be posting our next video with Nemesia, where she talks about the difference between freedom and independence. So for now, I bid you adieu, always with love, from Angelique.
Merci beaucoup.